Three. All right.
Deuces.
What? All right. Hey there, beer tubers. Welcome back to Beer Analysis 101 with your host, Maxwell Star. Here tonight with kind of a tribute episode sorry for the last minute change. We were going to do Michelob Ultra this week, but we're going to do that next week instead. We're taking a look at something from Mill Street, their Tankhouse Ale. First and foremost, let's get to the panel that we have with us tonight, starting with the Albino Rhino. How you doing tonight, Chad?
I am doing just peachy keen, sir. And how about yourself?
He looks like a peach with that light.
He kind of does. Like the white and the orange, kind of orange pinks. Nice light. Anyway, yeah, I'm not doing too bad myself. Thanks for asking. Because Greg never asks.
That's true, because I don't care.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Greg, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing just fine, Nick. I'm doing just fine. Also, those of you looking forward to an update on my Muskoka journey, on what happened with my expired Muskoka can last week, I am going to be making a video about it. I was meant to do it, but I fell asleep instead. But I will be making one that you can watch later tonight. I'm going to make it after this chat, so it'll be on Beer Burglar, YouTube channel, the best channel ever.
Greg will watch it because he's in the video.
That's right. So look forward to that.
All right, and of course, lastly, we got Mr. Ashley Sexton here tonight as well of Sexton Brewing Co., or the homebrew channel, which is taking YouTube by a storm.
Oh yeah,
by a storm.
By a storm.
I'm
trying to. I got two different phrases stuck in my head, and I don't know what to go with. Let's take YouTube by storm. How's that?
Yeah, that's me and my 47 subscribers are just rocketing up the charts. And,
you're getting some views. I saw the scene coming.
But
that's where it starts.
Thank you for pimping my channel. I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. All right, and anyway, speaking of which, let's go back to my channel stuff and talk about what we're drinking tonight. Mill Street's Tankhouse Ale.
Ooh.
We don't really need to go into too much detail as we've already looked at Mill Street beer on BA 101. But as a recap, Mill Street first opened in 2002 in Toronto's Distillery District at 55 Mill Street. The building that Mill Street originally opened in was called Tankhouse No. 3, built in 1879 to house bulk spirits waiting to be filled into barrels. Later, they moved production to Scarborough in 2006 and reopened the original location as a brew pub, with the brew pubs opening in the following years in Ottawa and even Toronto Airport. 2015, they were bought out by Labatt, a subsidiary of AB InBev. In 2003, Mill Street launched their now famous Tankhouse Ale, 5.2%, 40 IBU American-style pale ale brewed with pale, biscuit, caramel, Munich, and chocolate malts, as well as Bravo and Cascade hops. And they named it after the Tankhouse No. 3 building from which it was born. As with many of Mill Street's beers, all of its ingredients were organically sourced. 2 years later, in 2005, Joel Manning joined the Mill Street team, taking over the role of head brewer and from founding brewmaster Michael Duggan. Formerly from Amsterdam Brewing, where he'd worked his way up from a trainee in 1986 to brewmaster by the time he left in 2004, Joel was a big name in the Ontario brewing industry and enjoyed his role as brewmaster for Mill Street through the brewery's rise to prominence and up to and through the Labatt buyout. In December 2018, Joel Manning had announced he would be retiring after 32 years in the industry. Sadly, however, this past Friday, Joel Manning passed away. This episode of Beer Analysis 101 is dedicated to his memory. And moving on to cheers. I don't find beer. Anyway, I know Chad knows more about the guy than I do because he's got some connections within the brewing industry, but did you want to give a bit of a talk?
In all honesty, Joel was an amazing guy, always smiling, always happy. The beer got a lot better when he took over and Michael Duggan left. And Michael Duggan also was not a people person. Joel was. Joel liked going and talking to everybody, stuff like that. His wife was a spitfire too. I mean, when we were there recording, it was me, Paul, and a bunch of other guys. And, we're like, hey, let's take a picture of Paul punching you. And she's like, I'll beat him black and blue. And I'm like, oh, we really should do this then. And Joel was all good for it all. He's like, yeah, as long as you don't knock me out, hit me. I don't care. And I mean, the guy was an interesting guy. He would bring people back. He just regular customers. He'd bring them back to try beers right off the taps and stuff like that, right out of the fermenters. Great guy.
Yeah, and you 6 years ago you did your beer mentory series
Yes.
And you actually got a chance to interview the guys from Mill Street, and there's the old albino rhino crew with the Rain Man, and of course Joel there in the back. Yeah. That must have been pretty cool to actually get there and interview those guys, especially as the craft beer thing was still in its upswing.
Yes, it was a while ago, and it was great to be there. And this was still while Mill Street was one of the big names in Ontario beer before they started going into more a mainstream style of beer.
Yeah, they used to focus a lot on like more, well, at the time, more exotic stuff. We wouldn't consider it necessarily exotic now, but they had some good shit back then.
Kind of thought it was cool that they had back then they had a regularly available coffee porter, which is something that even nowadays isn't that common.
Yeah, and I actually used to love that coffee porter. Wish you could still get it here.
I'd probably murder someone for a coffee porter right now.
Jesus.
Just straight up murder.
Coffee porter. Anyway, moving right along, let's go over to what's your. Did you want to say anything more about your history with Mill Street there, Chad?
Oh.
Nope, you're good. Cool. Greg, what's your history with Mill Street, considering you're the one that lives closest to the brewery?
Well, I actually wanted to get, I'm not prepared, I'm not professional. I wanted to get a count. But anyway, regardless of my count, I have a long history with Mill Street. They're probably one of the first breweries I got to try all the way back in, I'm going to say 2012 when I started actually drinking craft beer, mainly because, they were available. They were something you've always sort of been able to get somewhat regularly at the LCBO. I think you can only get certain of their stuff at the LCBO back then. I think you can get the organic and you can get the stock ale. And I don't even think Tankhouse was a big thing back then because IPAs weren't really that popular then. But yeah, I mean, I've had all their stuff. I'm sure I've probably got over 100 check-ins with just their stuff alone. Yeah, like I don't know what there is to say. I've had them before.
Right on. All right, Mr. Sexton, what's your history of Mill Street?
Well, my history with Mill Street sort of exists with what they offer at the LCBO and whatnot. I've never made it down to the brewery or anything like. Oh, wait a second, I have. I've eaten at that. I've eaten at that damn place.
Yeah,
that's right. That yeah, I've been there. I was there last year. Holy shit. Had a cask, something on cask there as well. It was an IPA. Anyways, long story short, I mean, I've the majority of my experience with Mill Street has obviously just been this taster packs that they have at the LCBO, their main core that they always have available. I have no history whatsoever with Joel Manning whatsoever, but I do enjoy whenever I'm going to and from work. I always have the radio on, obviously, so I always thought it was funny when those the Mill Street commercials would come on, and it'd be like a back and forth between Joel Manning and like some person in marketing encouraging him to put free stuff into the 6 packs of beer, and he was just deadpan, like having none of it, like and it was funny that there was one where they were telling him to put in a pair of socks or something like that, and that's exactly what Sleeman had done at the same time. I sort of thought it was a funny jab at them, but anyways, yeah, I mean, I'm sort of hit or miss with a lot of their with a lot of their seasonal stuff that they release. Their core product is okay to my tastes, but and apparently I had this way back in 2015, and well, I thought it was the cat's ass, but
nice.
We shall see what we think now.
I think a lot of my early craft beer education actually came from those commercials, because he used to teach you stuff. Like he used to tell you about why you should pour beer with a little bit of head, why you should pour beer into a glass, why smell is important. Like all that stuff I think I learned on the radio from him.
Learning about beer on the radio.
Yeah.
Like it's 1910, bitches.
Check this out. I was looking at those commercials and I found this while looking. They call it, it's actually uploaded by Mill Street Brewery, but they say it's their first commercial. And I'm wondering, like,
yeah, I believe at one point their website was a variation of this, where it was kind of like you had the pub and you could click on different things and learn about the different beers.
That was their website for a while. Was this commercial, this cartoonish stuff here?
Oh, it was actually an incredibly annoying website to navigate, but it looked cool.
Yeah.
I was like Flying Monkey's old website. It was awful. Like it was pretty to look at, but it was so awful just to like go through it.
Oh, their website now is still awful to go through.
Is it? Maybe they haven't changed that.
Now,
Terrible.
I only have a question for the two Ontario guys here. Did either of you ever have the super hopped version of Tankhouse, the Tankenstein?
Nope.
I
No,
have
never.
had the Tankenstein. I think I've had it twice because they've released it at the LCBO a few times.
Did they?
Yeah, they did.
In one of the mix packs, probably.
Yeah, mixed. I think it's been available twice at the LCBO, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I've definitely had it for sure. It's kind of what you'd expect a double version of this to be.
Anyway, moving along with histories, now that all the Ontario guys are out of the way, the first time I can remember having Tankhouse was when I was first experimenting with craft beer, and I can't remember if it was 2009 or 2010, but it was in the early days of craft beer exploration that I actually first had Mill Street. And at the start, I wasn't the biggest fan of it because, I mean, it was back when baby palate days when I didn't really like that. Anything super spicy or resiny hoppy was really something that stood out to me. But one thing that really does come to mind is that my late fiance this is one of her favorite beers that she used to love. Like anytime we got a pack of Tankhouse, or we get a pack of Tankhouse just for her, kind of thing. So it kind of reminds me of her to a degree. And you know what, nowadays, or at least not nowadays, but like in the years that followed, that I actually grew to love this beer too. I did this beer as review number, I want to say review number 104. Really terrible old review, which used a lot of Rush clips, apparently Rush music clips.
Sounds about
anyway,
right.
Yep, sounds about right. And I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. I was really impressed with it back then. But yeah, I mean, of course, with Mill Street, I think this is one of the first beers that I ever have experience with drinking from Mill Street. But as far as I've had tons of their other beers over the years too. So anyway, so that's my history. So I guess we can move along to comments. And I don't know, anybody want to volunteer, Ashley?
Yeah, sure. I'll voluntold read them.
Voluntold? Cool.
I'm happy to do it, Nick.
Well, we have a few familiar faces in the chat. Lee's here. Let's get this Tankhouse show on the road. And then Craig from Kent Beer Reviews is agreeing with him indeed. And then he's like, waiting for Redbeard. Oh, wait. Is he working? Yes, he is. Eric Gilbert's here. Cheers. Cheers back at you, Eric Gilbert. Eric Gilbert used to crush the shit of these all day, sons. This used to be Lee's favorite go-to beer. Chad was sort of bantering back and forth with them. And then Lee said it still would be great if they hadn't dumbed it down, in my opinion. And then Eric's probably replying to me wanting to kill someone for a coffee porter. He says, let the killing begin. Yes, please. And then we all agree that it is better now, these Mill Street beers, because they are organic. Says Chad. And Lee's like, no longer has that slightly spicy hot flavor for me that made it special. So I wouldn't know. My history with this beer only goes back to a few years, so I don't know what the previous recipes or iterations were like, but I can't comment on that.
Well, the current brewmaster at Mill Street now, I believe, is a girl, so obviously girls make everything worse. So.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Yeah, but I mean,
that's a news story in the Food and Wine.
He probably read that and was trolling.
Yeah, it's a news story in Food and Wine right now.
I actually didn't read that. I just was trolling on my own accord. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I forget who posted it. I think somebody was saying that it's like it's a problem with the industry as a whole.
That was a Rod post.
Yeah,
I think
you may be right.
What's going on over there?
Alrighty, so we're through those. Eric Gilbert's got one last comment. Tankhouse was easy to leap for me after the import craze days and cask bitters. Yeah, I could see that. Back in the day, this thing was like very like hearty and robust and peppery and corn.
Well, this was the original Ontario Pale Ale that so many other beers have tried to be like Double Trouble. Well, fuck, most pale ales in Ontario were modeled after the original Tankhouse. They just had that caramel taste, that piney spiciness, that's just what was known, right? And now it's not really there.
Yeah, and it used to have quite a bit more like grapefruit coming through as well. Anyway, let's move over to you, Chad. What's your final thoughts?
I don't know if. Well, I know somehow it got dumbed down. I don't know if it was when they went all organic, or if it was the change of brewmasters, or if it was the change of ownership, or what it was. But the flavor's not the same, and it's not slight differences like you would think just by a palate shift. It's different. That being said, there's nothing wrong with it. It's still a very drinkable beer. It's more like a Sleeman seasonal, if you know what I mean, like almost like an entry level craft beer now, where it used to be at least a couple steps up from that. Stylistically, as a pale ale, I guess I'd have to give it a 7.5, and as a beer that I enjoy, probably a 7. I could buy it and enjoy it, but I just don't see myself doing it often.
5 and 7. All right, Greg, what's your final verdict?
I mean, I think Chad's assessment of it being dumbed down is pretty accurate. It's actually funny that we did Mad Tom last week, and that was, I don't know my history. Probably Chad might know better, but I think those two beers have been around like similar lengths of time. They've both been together longer than I've been into craft. Sorry, they've both been around longer than I've been around to craft beer. Now, the thing with Mad Tom, and even though my one was expired last week and certainly wasn't as good as it could have been, I do feel that beer is sort of more or less what it's always been. Maybe it's a little worse, maybe than it used to be, but this one I feel is a lot worse than it used to be. Like it really is quite a bit dumbed down. Like it sort of reminds me of, I always used to think of this and Devil's Pale Ale from GLB to be kind of similar tasting beers.
Yes.
Nowadays, the Devil's Pale Ale is not regularly available. It comes out once or twice a year. I still think that beer is as good as it used to be. This beer, I feel, is not as nearly as used to be. That could just be my perspective, maybe. So, I mean, as a pale ale, I mean, I guess specifically as an Ontario pale ale, which nowadays I don't even think there's that many of them. I think it's a 7. I think it's solid for what it's trying to be. It's trying to sort of be a mass market, not overly hoppy beer. Like I think something most people could probably enjoy as long as you're just like not completely revolted by hops, because it's not all that hoppy. Nothing really here to be that offended by. At the same time, and in fact, I'm stealing Chad's thing because it was so well put. It feels like a big brewery creating one of their seasonal craft style beers just to kind of appeal to the craft drinkers. That's kind of what it comes off as. And I kind of don't think that's by accident. I think they're trying to create a beer that everyone can basically enjoy. They're kind of like Amsterdam almost at this point, where they can make some good stuff, but most of their stuff just wants to appeal to the mass market drinker. So I think I gave it a 7 for style. So I mean, I don't think it's bad. Not necessarily great either. Personal enjoyment, I've gone as far as rated this beer, I think, an 8.85 in the past. I really can't, for my own personal enjoyment, give this better than a 6. I just not like, it's still in the good realm for me where I can drink one without complaining, but it's just not. It's nothing I'd really want to drink unless it's kind of the only thing available to me. Because this, especially going by this can, is not great. Now I will say, even in the past, when I have thought more of this beer, I've always found it could be inconsistent. You'd always get a bad bottle here and there. So could be I have a bad can. I don't know. But this one's not tickling me as well as I'd like it to tickle me.
It's a 7 and a 6.
That's not how math works, Nick.
Well, you're saying you're 7 and you said 7.
7 for style, 6 for personal enjoyment.
So that's how the math works then.
It's not a 7. It's not a 7 out of 6. It's a 7 out of 10.
I said 7 and a 6, man.
No, you said out of. Someone play back the footage.
All right.
My brain hurts.
All right. Just in time to give your final thoughts, there, Mr. Sexton.
Yeah, so I look back on my old Untapped on this one, and man, I love the shit out of this beer back in 2015, and and you know what? I mean, that said, it's I can see why. I mean, it's exactly what you guys have said. It is a great entry level beer for someone getting into the market. Well, that was me back in 2015. I drank this and I was just like going crazy gaga over it. Now, what it comes across as to me, now that I've had it again, this tastes like a, it almost comes across like an English IPA. It's more caramel malt driven and more like dirty bitterness driven than what I would perceive to be more of a modern pale ale, which would be medium to moderate bitterness with huge like aroma notes, regardless of like what kind of notes those are, who gives a shit. But you know, huge aroma, mild bitterness or medium to bitterness, whereas this one is sort of the opposite. Not a whole lot going on the aroma, big notes of like caramel malt, big bready biscuity body, and sort of like a dirty earthy type of bitterness to it. So so I mean, that said, I mean, it's an okay beer. I don't have any frame of reference to what it was before, so I can only just rate it as to what I feel it is right now. Which to me, yeah, it's not really coming across like a pale ale. It comes across more as like an English IPA. So with that, I'm gonna say I'm gonna give it 6.5 across the board for both style and personal preference. Yeah, just it's sort of a little underwhelming, little let down. Well, no, I wouldn't say let down. It's definitely an underwhelming beer, and yeah, it definitely doesn't hit what a pale ale is right now. That's for sure. It's showing its age.
Yeah. All right, so now for my final thoughts. I'm gonna have to agree with the assessment that it feels like it's a little bit dumbed down. I seem to remember this thing being a hell of a lot more flavorful and a whole lot more powerful drinking beer than it was than it has been. Now, this bottle I'm having of it is better than the last one that I had of it, which I don't. I'm not going to say that's worth a whole lot of salt here, but I do think that compared to the bottles that I remember having of this. Back in like 2011, 2012, I just found that it's kind of dropped off in taste now. Like I used to get a bit more grapefruit, a bit more pine forward, a bit more caramel malt out of this, and this time I'm getting it's kind of gotten weak. It's kind of weak. The resin kind of comes off as almost a hint of cardboard. There's a little bit of copper coin finish in the back, but not a lot of caramel malt coming up the back as well either. It's just I feel like it's dumbed down in general, but I gotta say that it's still not bad. It's not like I would call this a terrible beer as much as I'm harping on it right now. It's just I kind of wish that I could have the old Tankhouse back, but I gotta say the very least, this bottle of Tankhouse is better than the last can I had of it, which was last year. And looking at the was I think Canadian Beer News when they said that they actually converted Tankhouse, they certified it completely organic, which was back in July of 2018. So this is only not even a year ago that they converted everything. And to be honest, I don't think it's even been the buyout that really dumbed it down. I think it's been kind of on a downhill slope since probably about 2013, 14.
Just out of curiosity, does your bottle say organic anywhere on it? Because it's like the big thing on the cans.
You know what? It doesn't.
Like the cans, it's right there, like right under the name.
Yeah, like mine's silk screen right on the bottle. So there's a Mill Street Brewery. This is like the class. Like these looks like the original bottles we used to get it in here.
Yeah, they are the original bottles, more or less. I mean, I don't think they've changed anything on them.
They're probably just going through their dead stock bottles.
I actually somewhere in my parents' basement, I have a collection of all the original Mill Street, or at least original from when I started in 2012, of all the original. So I guess there's the Tankhouse, there's the wheat, which they don't make anymore, the stock ale, the organic ale, the coffee porter. I think that's all. I think that's the 5 original bottles they have. So
date code
I still have.
Sorry.
No, not just the point. I just have the collection.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I was just going to say the date code. Now that it's empty, I can flip it up and read it. It says 83119. So this is from January. So it's 3 months old. So maybe it's starting to fade a little bit, but either way, it should be fine. I don't know. I just think it's not as good as it was, but I think it's better than it has been. That's in a nutshell right there. So I'm going to give it for the style 7.5 because it's not terrible. There's a lot better than some things that call itself a pale ale. As far as overall enjoyment, it'd be a 3.25 out of 5. So a 6.5 out of 10 works for me. And I wanted to add something to the beer history too, as I forgot to mention this during my whole experiences. That I think at least three, maybe all four of the last trips that I made up to the Albino Rhino Beer Fest, I've stopped in at the brew pub in the airport for some last drinks before heading home or for supper or something. They actually, I recommend it if you're in that wing of the Toronto Pearson Airport to check it out. There we go. So what do we got left for anything for comments?
Nope, just some banter back and forth between.
I really like your shirt, Greg.
Oh, thank you. I'm looking forward to adding a pink one to my collection this year.
Oh, sorry, no. Eric did say something. He's like, actually, and this is going back to Greg's misogynist comment.
Yeah.
Actually, women usually improve a brewery's consistency because their senses are better. There we go.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, but sometimes they get blood in the water.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
And then
Greg,
Chad
actually
threw some slanders for remarks at me, and then
moving along. As far as comes, we can talk about this in the after chat. But I've known a couple of breweries that have like women brewers or brewmasters. There's actually one brewery in town here that actually makes some excellent beer, Big Tide. Where I know Wendy personally, and she's great and she's good at what she does. She makes a fantastic root beer. Anyway,
and by the way, anyone who's taking my comments seriously, get over yourself. I'm obviously joking, so get your head out of your ass.
Fucking misogyny. Well, we kind of expected misogyny from you, Greg.
So. Exactly. That's why I wasn't allowed on the female beer.
This is absolutely true. It was like
Chad wouldn't even read my comments.
Only one of those girls still talks to me.
Really? Which one?
She owns a brewery now.
That Erica or whatever?
Yep, Eric. Sorry, Aaron. Erica doesn't talk to me anymore.
I know there's a certain one of those ladies that wants to jump your bone.
No.
Moving right along. Let's go to, we have the last comments. So I should probably do the graphic up here, which, damn it, means Greg has to talk more and I don't want him to. So let me hurry up and do the math here and keep talking while. What were you saying, Chad?
I was saying nothing. Yeah, no.
I got nothing.
Now no one's talking, Nick. So reveling in your misogyny.
Does this mean that the beer of next week is what was supposed to be the beer of this week?
Yeah, we just postponed it because of and we wanted to do a tribute for Joe Manning.
I know what beer that is, and if I'm still off, I'll go and get a 6-pack of that.
Does anyone know if Michelob Ultra is brewed by a man or a woman?
Shut up, Greg.
It's a legitimate question, Nick.
I'd be surprised if it were brewed by a human, Greg.
Yeah,
it's fucking Michelob Ultra for fuck's sakes.
Probably a robot.
What's the ABV on Michelob Ultra? Is it actually 4% or?
It's 4.0. 4.0 on the can.
4.0.
It's actually one of the highest ABV low carb beers.
Wow,
that's great. So I can feel good about myself while I drink all 6 in a half hour next week.
You know it.
Rhino made the comment about Ashley that I was thinking.
Yep.
And here I'm going to be hanging out with Ashley tomorrow.
That's right.
He's going to be at an industry event.
I'm going to be his chaperone.
Oh boy.
Make sure he doesn't get into any trouble at the exchange.
Oh man, I'm going to go into those Harry Potter washrooms and not come out.
Oh, you're going to the exchange?
Yeah, their 3rd anniversary or some Congratulations on
He's
making
gonna,
it 3
he's
years.
gonna film it.
Are the rich owners going to be there to celebrate, or have they already fucked off because they're making their money and don't?
No, Robin will be there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were gonna
Talking about women ruining the craft beer industry. Oh, did I say that out loud? Sorry.
God damn it, Craig! Shut up.
Maybe I'll wear one of my like Sexton Brewery t-shirts underneath a blazer, and I'll be like repping my own shit there. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
What should I wear? I mean,
I'm
that's
still
the big
hoping.
thing, right?
You gotta wear the Albino Rhino Sex Fest shirt.
Yeah, I'm hoping, Chad, you still have a Sex Fest shirt for me. I will definitely wear that to your fest if you have one for me.
You know what? Maybe I'll order a whole bunch new ones at the end of this festival too.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, because I was looking forward to that shirt, but then we never got together.
Maybe I'll do a wardrobe change after this.
Oh, no.
All right, speaking of wardrobe change, here's our scores for tonight.
Yeah, it's Chad.
Yeah. Overall, we got 7.125. Style 6.5. So it's not really the greatest showing, but it's not bad. We've had worse. We've had much worse.
I feel like Chad's blindness is improving. You look more blind there than you do.
You know, I feel that was before I got super fat.
Well, that's probably like not long after you started when you did that review. Like literally, I was looking for pictures in the Google image search, and that was one of the first ones. Like
that came up on Google Images. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just see if I can find the link here. Yeah, like a Google image search right here, and you scroll down, there's Chad right there.
That's funny.
I'm pretty sure that you might see a thumbnail from me too. I'm not actually maybe not because
I
didn't use thumbnails back then. All right.
I don't think it's a thing anymore, but at one point when you used to Google image my wife's name, like the third picture in was hardcore pornography.
Ooh, let's do it.
Yeah, you can check if it's still there. Nick's unzipping his pants.
Yeah, no porn, just Agnes, right?
Well, her full name, but don't tell everyone.
I'm not gonna tell everybody for we can look at that at the after chat. Anyway, yeah. So I think it pretty well covers it. We got any last moment comments there? Or?
Eric wants to do Tankhouse next week too because this one was intense, son.
Well, you know what? There's nothing stopping Eric from doing Tankhouse himself, and he can in the chat give us his opinion on it next week.
Right. Anyway, what we're actually doing next week, of course, is Michelob Ultra. We were supposed to do that this week, but in light of events last weekend, we decided to do a tribute episode. I think I said that already.
Yep.
But yeah, we're going to return to our regularly scheduled beer analysis next week. I think that's it for now. I want to thank everybody for watching. We got 8 people watching right at the moment. That's awesome.
So I think we can agree that although maybe we didn't love the beer so much, I think we did lose a great guy last week. So cheers to even though I finished my beer, cheers to you, Joel.
Yeah, I got nothing left, but
Joel.
cheers.